All right. Hello and welcome back. U.S. Department of War releasing more UAP, UFO, alien files, Hollywood files. Doesn't really matter what you think about it. It's being released by our government. So that's interesting. The website is also interesting. Looks kind of like a video game. Like, look at this, secret documents. It feels like they're playing this out for old people, honestly, or little kids, because no one gets on here and is going, ooh, I'm getting into the secret stuff, looking at this website. I think it's hilarious. So it looks like there's not a lot of files, some here and there's, but they did come out with some cool pictures, and with those pictures are stories about it. A lot of redactions on this one, so I'll do my best. On April blank 2025, blank and blank were interviewed, blank and blank, by Supervisory Special Agent something and Special Agent something else, and Task Force Officer something else, and a whole lot of blank. And it goes, after being advised of the identity of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview, blank and blank provided the following information. Blank served 6.5 years in the U.S. Army, a whole lot more blanks, and then served 24 years in the U.S. Army. I'm guessing two different ones there, two different people. On an evening in June or July of 2011, it was dark outside when blank was leaving his driveway located at blank, blank, and blank at about 8 or 9 p.m. Blank was with blank and blank, who was driving the vehicle, and blank, who was in the front passenger seat. The vehicle was about 50 feet from the driveway and preparing to make a left turn onto somewhere. When they reached the intersection, blank was looking out the window and saw 3 lights in the sky. Got out of the vehicle, and when he looked up, he saw a massive black isosceles triangle-shaped object flying north. The object had a car-sized white light in each of its 3 corners that emitted a diffuse glow and were recessed back a bit from the corners. The object was low to the ground and creating a low humming noise that made a pulsating sound. Blank told him to take a video, but by the time Blank got his phone out, the object had flown over the tree line behind the houses to the north and out of sight. He had seen the object for approximately 10 to 15 seconds. There were no contrails left behind the object. Blank felt dumbfounded and awestruck during the experience. When Blank observed the object, he was overwhelmed by the size of it and how low it was to the ground. Blank thought the object may have been 800 feet above the ground, and based on the dimensions of their environment, he estimated the object was 200 feet long and 100 feet wide. Blank believed the object had more of an equilateral triangle shape, but based on the calculated dimensions, it could have been more of an isosceles triangle. The object was moving slowly and steadily, and he also heard the pulsing sound. Blank saw the 3 lights in the corners, but also remembered seeing something in the middle of the triangle that was grayish or graphite colored. Neither Blank nor Blank had a clear memory of the thickness or any other description of the vertical profile of the triangle. They opined that they were initially underneath the triangle and didn't really have a view of its side or vertical profile. They were then temporarily distracted by their unsuccessful attempt to get a phone out to video record the UAP, at the moment when they likely would have had a better view of the back profile. Then there's a whole long line, I guess, or multiple lines of blanks. Stated they would also, that's how it's written, try to see if Blank, as well as their neighbors who witnessed the UAP, would be willing to write a statement about their observation or speak to the FBI about it. That's all we got. They got the adorable little picture here showing you what they saw. On to the next one. On March blank 2024, blank, phone number blank, residing in bunch of blanks, was interviewed by Supervisory Special Agent blank, Special Agent blank, and SA blank. Blank stated that starting in October of 2023, a lot of pilots have been seeing the same event occurring. namely seeing lights in the sky. Pilots have been discussing the events over blank. Pilots typically saw them between midnight and 3 a.m. Blank did not know if the events occurred at the time because that was when it was dark enough, or if it was because that was when the lights were present. Blank first observation of the lights occurred in October of 2023. Blank was flying from Boston, Massachusetts to Dublin, Ireland, where he saw the lights in the northeast towards Gander, Canada. Blank was at an elevation of 37,000 feet and believed the lights were higher than him, probably at 50,000 feet or higher. The lights were white in color, would start out as dim and get brighter before they eventually faded out. The full cycle of the lights would range from 10 seconds to 1 minute. The lights looked like airplane landing lights, but Blank knew that it was not them, nor did he think it was. And that's it for that one. Next one here. On October blank 2025, Blank was interviewed by... It's pretty much the same thing in all of them until it gets down to the meat of it. Blank frequently watches aircraft, military, commercial, and civilian fly in the airspace above and around Colorado Springs. On October blank 2023, between 8 to 9:30 p.m., Blank was working a whole bunch of blanks. Colorado Springs, Colorado. And a whole bunch more blanks. Walked over to his coworker named Blank and began looking up, admiring the stars on a clear night. As Blank looked up, he noticed a very bright star in the sky, which initially drew his attention. Blank was observing the star for about 5 to 10 seconds when he noticed movement in his left peripheral vision. Blank looked further up and to his left and saw what appeared to be a dark gray-colored cloud phasing into his sight. The cloud was stationary in the sky, and Blank stated it looked very strange, as if it was pixelated or distorted in some other manner. As he watched the cloud, he saw a constant diffuse red light on the bottom front point of a solid black triangular shaped object coming out of the cloud towards the southeast. The object behind the point became wider and larger as it exited the cloud until Blank saw the entire equilateral triangular object with a red light in each of the 3 corners. Blank estimated the triangle UAP was very large and could have been as large as a parking lot in which he was standing. He estimated the UAP was the equivalent of 3 to 5 stories in thickness. Dang. Based upon Blank's memory, at arm's length, each of the 3 lights on the triangle UAP was the size of a fingernail. Initially, the UAP was moving south and slightly east at a steady speed comparable to a helicopter. Blank believed the UAP was at an altitude of 3,000 to 5,000 feet, comparable to small civilian aircraft in training flights. It then almost instantaneously accelerated to possibly Mach 1 or 2 and turned slightly, heading directly south or slightly southwest. He noticed there appeared to be waves surrounding and radiating from the object. He compared the waves to the mirage effect that could be observed when you look down a hot road into the distance. Blank did not hear the object make any noise, could not see any form of propulsion, and did not smell anything out of the ordinary. He believed the object was almost directly over his position, possibly over the blank. As the object moved, it abruptly banked 90 degrees to its left side, with its 3 lights still visible while veering towards the right, and then it quickly banked back down to level flight. The banking motion was opposite of a conventional aircraft would bank in the direction it was turning. Blank lost sight of the object as it went over the blank, from his perspective, towards the south. He looked back to where it originally came into view and noticed that the dark gray cloud had disappeared. He called his wife about 60 seconds later to tell her about the event, and she said that his voice sounded robotic, as if there was electronic interference occurring with the call. Blank's cell phone provider was blank, and then the rest of it's blanked out. It's a pretty wild one. Sounds like a very large craft, electronical interference, using the cover of a cloud. Lots of good details there. On to the next one. On blank of 2026, seems kind of new, huh? Was interviewed by FBI Special Agent blank, SA blank, and blank. After being advised on the identities of the interviewing agents, Blank provided the following information. Prior to his current role as Blank, had previously worked for Blank, was at Blank to support the Blank. It gets me every time. Reading this is hilarious. On Blank of 2026, Blank and Blank left the Blank at approximately 7:45 p.m. and were headed to a location on the central northern portion of Blank. Weather condition at the time was rainy with significant cloud cover. Approximately 30 minutes after passing through the Blank, approximately 8 to 8:30 p.m., Blank saw two unidentified lights in the sky. Pulled over to the side of the road and exited the vehicle to investigate. Blank described the lights as dash-shaped and dull red in color to the naked eye. The lights moved along the ridgeline of the mountains to his west. Blank was equipped with night optical devices, or NODs, and observed the lights through said optics as well. Blank relayed that, despite being dash-shaped to the naked eye, the lights appeared orb-like, or circular through the NODs, with a characteristic nod halo around them, which is typical when looking at a light source through nods. Blank stated that he is very familiar with using nods, as he has been using them for 25 plus years and has many hours of experience. Blank stated that he has astigmatism, and while the objects appeared dash-shaped to him, Blank stated they appeared triangular or diamond-shaped, which could possibly be attributed to Blank's astigmatism. After approximately 20 minutes, both of the aforementioned unidentified lights disappeared. Shortly thereafter, Blank observed another similar unidentified light appear directly above their location and was visible for approximately 10 minutes before it, too, disappeared. Interesting. Sometime between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., Blank observed another similar unidentified light appear approximately 600 meters, estimated, to the east of their position and appeared to be approximately 500 feet above their vehicle. The unidentified light appeared to move towards them and stopped approximately 400 meters away. A second unidentified light appeared and moved toward, and then stopped in proximity of the first. The second light appeared to be approximately 6 feet off the ground. As Blank watched the two unidentified lights to the east, he noticed light in his peripheral vision descend from altitude and stop in a dry wash, approximately 100 meters behind them. Although Blank could not directly see the light source, he observed the glow emanating from the wash. Blank watched the glow move through the wash. Blank entered their vehicle and drove up to the next intersection in an attempt to get a better view of the unidentified lights to their east. Upon arrival, the lights were no longer observed. They returned to their original position, but were unable to reacquire the unidentified lights. Blank walked 10 to 20 meters away from the vehicle to look around the area. Blank remained near the vehicle. So there is two of them. At this time, Blank adjusted the filter on his nods to look at his watch, which displayed approximately 1 a.m., estimated based on memory. Blank's watch was a Blank men's automatic analog watch. He walked back to the vehicle to check his phone, which displayed 12:40 a.m. Blank noted the discrepancy, compared the time displayed on his watch to the time displayed on his phone, and observed that the time on his watch was 25 minutes ahead of the time on his phone and the vehicle's digital clock. Blank relayed the discrepancy to Blank, whose digital watch displayed the same time as the phone and the vehicle's clock. He stated that he had owned that watch for approximately 5 years, and it had never been off more than 60 to 90 seconds. He had last checked the time on his watch at approximately 10 p.m., and it was accurate at that time. Blank stated that his watch was the only mechanical/analog/non-digital clock in the vicinity at that time, and it was the only clock that displayed a different time. He did not adjust his watch or reset the time for 24 hours to see if it continued to malfunction. The watch continued to keep accurate time, but remained 25 minutes fast. This guy is very intelligent. He's a good investigator to actually have the forethought. I'm going to want this information to prove to himself what he's experiencing is real. Back to it. Blank told agents that he had spent a considerable amount of time at a Blank facility looking up at the night sky, and was familiar with how stars, satellites, meteors look to both the naked eye and with the nods. Blank stated that the lights he observed and described were unlike anything he had seen before. He stated that the lights he observed on Blank did not behave like satellites, as satellites track linear across the sky, whereas these did not. He stated the unidentified lights moved around and changed direction, and also appeared to be as low as 6 feet off the ground. We got a whole bunch blanked out here. The low elevation lights described by him would have been backdropped by the mountains and below the relative horizon line. You got some more blacked out. Stated that what he observed was not a UAS that he was familiar with. He noted no exhaust or tail with when these objects moved, and they exhibited no audible sound signature. He attempted to observe the objects through thermal optics but was unsuccessful. Blank noted no psychological effects from the events, stated that the observations did not induce a fear or agitation response, just curiosity. Blank conversed about this afterward and given their backgrounds. Found it strange that they did not feel fear or threatened during their observations. Blank provided his contact information, was open to further contact from agents. Very interesting. In my opinion, I think these are government. These stories all sound like they were testing. In this specific situation, they were doing some sort of testing, possibly on these guys. You guys will have to let me know what you think down in the comments on that one. On to the next. They all start kind of the same. This one's a little bit different. On Blank 2026, Blank was interviewed telephonically by the FBI. Special Agent Blank, after being advised of the identity of the interviewing agent, Blank provided the following information. Blank arrived at blank blank on Blank 2026, another recent one, to support the Blank on, let's see, jump ahead here, left the Blank at approximately 2100 with the intention of driving north on Blank for area reconnaissance. When they arrived at the gate to Blank, it was raining heavily, so they waited for the rain to subside, which it did shortly thereafter. Blank then unlocked the gate and began driving north on Blank. At approximately 2200, Blank, after they had gone approximately 25 miles, noticed a red light at the crest of the mountain range to their west and pulled over to investigate. Initially, Blank thought the light was something on the mountain, but it began to move to the east, due to the mountain range being approximately 5,000 feet and the cloud cover being at approximately 7,000 feet. Blank stated he believed the light was traveling somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 feet above ground level. After approximately 15 minutes, as Blank watched this light, multiple more, approximately 6 to 10, lights appeared directly over their position. These lights, along with the first observed light, appeared to sync up and travel to the east/southeast. During this time, one of the lights descended rapidly. Blank estimated approximately 1,000 feet, then disappeared. The other lights continued east-southeast and disappeared as well. He described the lights as red in color and stated that at first glance, as well as when observed through night optical devices, some more nods. The lights appeared as a single point of light. However, upon closer observation, or while squinting, the lights appeared to each be 3 separate lights in a triangular or diamond-shaped pattern. He stated that each cluster of the 3 lights moved in tandem and never separated, as if all 3 lights were attached to the same object. Blank also noted that the cloud cover was heavy at this time, to the point that there were no stars that were visible. At approximately 2350, Blank witnessed 2 lights on or close to the ground to their east, which were only visible using nods. One of the lights moved west towards their position, and the second, which was south of the first, moved north and stopped in the vicinity of the first light. Both lights appeared to stop approximately 200 to 300 meters from their position. As Blank watched these lights to the east, he saw a rapidly moving streak of light on the peripheral of his vision. Blank described it as analogous to how a sparkler or flashlight looks at night if someone moves it quickly, where the light tail is visible behind the light source. Turned to look at the source, but was only able to see a bright hue of light emitting from the vicinity. As the source was in a defilade, the hue moved north. following until it faded out or disappeared. The lights to their east also disappeared. Blink then got into their vehicle and attempted to drive east to the vicinity of their observations, but were unsuccessful. They then returned to their original position, parked, and exited the vehicle. After some time, Blink walked back to the truck to check his phone and give his eyes a break. Blink then asked Blink what time he had and relayed that his watch was 25 minutes fast. Blink was wearing a digital Blink watch, which displayed the time as their cell phone, the vehicle's clock. Blink's watch was the only analog non-digital clock and was the only clock that was different. Blink relayed that he had known Blink for years and described him as squared away. Having inaccurate watch or faulty gear was not something he would let happen. Moreover, Blink had been looking at his watch throughout that day and night, and it had been accurate up to this point. Blink stated he did not have any psychological reactions, effects during or after the above described events. So this sounds like they interviewed both guys. It's weird. It kind of, to me, sounds like it's the same story, just different from the same guy. But the other guy was saying it didn't look like three lights. But they were both using those NODs. Very interesting. All these stories seem to be painting a picture, which is that whatever these things are, they seemingly know where these people are. And almost as if, like in this story, that they knew the people were going to be there for some reason, right? This sounded like a planned meeting, like they were working. It sounded like they're in the military, actually. And that these things are appearing and disappearing and showing themselves at the right time. Formation, different lights, being able to hide and then appear, getting closer. These are all things that all these stories seem to have in common. It's really interesting. Well, let me know what you guys think about this. It sounds like every single one of these was the exact same kind of craft, if that's what you want to call it. The size, where that guy said it was 3 stories thick, and the size of the parking lot he was standing in, that's wild. That is a big craft, or whatever else it could be. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Where are you at with this alien stuff, UFO stuff? I think it's our government, but I know there's a lot of people that don't subscribe to that opinion. If you guys have seen anything else that's interesting that would be worth talking about or bringing up in the podcast about this specifically, or honestly anything else in general, let us know. We'll catch you on the next one.